I like that better. Greetings. Welcome to Bible study. God bless you. Want to lift up Najee Hardaway. He's a young man who was 26 years old, who died apparently in a car accident recently. He was also a young man who played basketball with one of my sons, Revelation. They were on the same basketball team. And they're going to do his services on Saturday. I want to lift up that family. There, but for the grace of God goes I. Tonight, for Bible study, I want to look at what I believe is one of my heroes. His name is Winston E Willis, a legend and a hero in the Black community in Cleveland, Ohio, during the late 60s and 70s. This story needs to be told because right now, one of the most vibrant areas in this city is the property that he used to own that was literally taken from him illegally. And the forces of Cleveland, Ohio, both black and white, colluded to bring about his demise. But let me get personal. When I was a youngster, grades, let me see, second grade through fourth grade, we lived at 3559 East 117th Street in the Mount Pleasant area. In order to get to school on 90th and Superior at the St. Thomas Aquinas School, I had to catch at least three buses. I caught the 50 to University Circle. And then I believe I caught the 10 down East 105. And sometimes I would walk to 90th and Superior, or other times we would wait on the bus. And I believe it was the number 3 bus. And I did that every morning. My brothers, or my brother and my sister, they were older than I, but there's a period where they were at St. Thomas as well. Both of them graduated. One went to Benedictine and became the valedictorian. God bless him. And then my sister went on to Villangela, which is now Villangela St. Joe's. And so there was a short period there where I was there all by myself, catching the bus and, Lord have mercy, taking a very long time to get back home to 3559 East 117th Street after school daily. I wondered and I wondered. And I did a lot of things that had nothing to do with catching those 3 buses to get home. One of the things that I would like to do is I would like to go and spend time on the corridor of East 105 and Euclid, between East 105 and Euclid and East 107th. Um, it was amazing. Polish boys, French fries, the movie theaters, the people, the community. It was amazing. I felt protected. I felt loved. I felt inspired. I never had any money, never, but I ate well. I'd walk through there with my little tie on and my book bag and my Catholic school uniform, and they took care of me. Oh, yes, they did. Um, and it was a beautiful place. And oftentimes on that corner of East 105 and Euclid, there would be political signs there. Dennis Kucinich, I mean, very graphic signs that Mr. Winston Willis would put up on that corner that he owned, and many times those signs would get torn down. Somebody would drive a car into him or something, and he put one right back up. And I loved it. I couldn't wait to get to that corner on the bus just to see what depiction he would put up there. Sometimes he had people with pitchforks burning in hell, politicians, and he'd have characters of them on there, and it was just amazing, the boldness, the confidence, and you knew that they did not like this man, even though I'm not sure if I ever met Mr. Winston Willis, but I sure did benefit for those years I was at St. Thomas, coming through there on my way home, quote unquote. I spent so much time at 105 in Euclid that one day I got off of that 10 bus and my mother was sitting there in the car waiting on me. I was terrified, but she knew that I had to come through that intersection. And she sat there right on that corner, right in front of that place where that sign used to be, and she waited on me. And I'm sure that that day I was late as well. And I got in that car as quiet as I could, and she took me on home, but I received the message. Anyway, we fast forward. I'm going to tell you a story about what happened to Winston E. Willis. I'm not going to tell you where he is now because he's still alive, but I'm going to tell you what they did to this black man simply because he was a property owner, he was a businessman, he was an employer of hundreds of people, and he was independent. And they took his land, another stolen legacy. We're going to find that white people do one thing very well, and I'm not talking about a color. I'm talking about, when I say white people, I'm talking about a consciousness, a way of thinking, because there's a lot of black people that think like them too. And there's three things that white thinking, white consciousness does effectively, consistently, and they've done it for centuries everywhere they go. Number one, they lie, and they lie about the lie. Number two, they steal, and they lie about what they steal. And number three, they kill, and they lie about what they kill. Today, we're going to spend some time talking about Winston E. Willis, a black hero in the Cleveland community. And I just want you to be clear that the playbook is in full effect, and it's still in full effect. And white thinking, white consciousness has nothing to do with your skin color and all to do with the color of your soul and the way you think. Hmm. Now, I'm reading some of the comments here, and I lifted up Najee, and it seems like there are some other deaths that people are um, lifting up today, and I cannot dismiss that. People could be a million other places, but they're on this page, and I can't read, I can't see all of the comments, but it looks like someone's mother died, but it also looks like someone, Caden Blake, it's your birthday. I want to bid you a great birthday. I think birthdays are the best days ever. I am a birthday man. I love when people have their day and have their birthday. So I want to bid you a happy birthday. Now, there's an Emoto Brothers here who says, my mom just died and I'm sad. Oh my God. Do I know that sadness? I literally sat up in my bed just yesterday and I said to myself, man, I sure do miss my dad. I'm missing my dad a lot. And if you want to know what my dad looks like, all you gotta do is look at me. And I miss him. And 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 I could have been a better son to my dad. But I was a product of divorce and division, and kids want to protect their mother in a divorce, but mom's not always right. But anyway, I miss my mom, miss my dad, so my heart goes out to you. Um, I lift you up in prayer. I want to encourage you, and I'm not gonna lie to you. People will tell you it's gonna be all right. It may never be all right. I'm not all right. My mom died in 2004. I'm not all right. I'm still grieving. It still hurts. I still miss her. And I know that she's in a better place. And I know that, at least in my own understanding, I've given up death. I'm reading my Ethiopian Bible. I've given up death. I know she's traveling with God, but still hurts. I still miss her. I still want to call her. Still want to talk to her. And so I understand where you are. But not to get sidetracked or delayed, let's talk about Mr. Winston E. Willis. Um, Historically, we know these are facts. I like to deal in facts. Winston built a major black owned commercial empire in Cleveland during the 1960s and the 1970s through the what he called University Circle Properties Development. At one point, he reportedly operated more than 20 businesses and employed hundreds of people. I worked in one of those businesses when I was in high school, right there on the corner of East 105 and Euclid. His property sat in a strategically valuable corridor between institutions tied to the expanding medical and university district, including Cleveland Clinic and Case Western Reserve University, where I am pursuing my PhD right now. Willis repeatedly alleged that the city and the redevelopment interests targeted him through inspections, prosecutions, foreclosures, and court actions in order to remove him from the area. I've been through that. I know that to be true. The system is one. They lie, they steal, they kill. They will lie on you, they will steal from you, and the system will be one like an invisible hand, and they will attempt to kill you. And if they can't kill you physically, they will kill your reputation. It's called character assassination. Willis and his supporters claimed prosecutions and property takings were racially motivated and connected to broader urban redevelopment plans. Hmm, several. Well, you know what? Let me look at this. Here we go. Several Cleveland officials. See if I can. I want to organize this properly. Okay, good. Here we are. The rise and fall of Winston E. Willis. Property, power, and conflict in Cleveland. Today, we examine the life and the struggle of Winston E. Willis, one of the most controversial black businessmen in the history of Cleveland. His story is not merely about one man, it is about race, land, economics, political power, urban renewal, and the collusion between black ownership and institutional expansion in the 20th century America. Who was Winston Willis? Winston Willis emerged during the 1960s and 1970s as a major black entrepreneur in Cleveland. Through his company, the University Circle Properties Development, he built a business empire concentrated near the corner of East 105 and Euclid. You should drive by there now. You never know. At the height of his influence, Willis reportedly controlled more than 20 businesses, employed hundreds of people, and owned strategically valuable property near the growing medical and university corridor. His businesses included restaurants, which I visited, nightclubs, retail stores, and commercial real estate. For many Black Clevelanders, Willis represented economic independence and Black ownership at a scale rarely seen in Cleveland during that era. But his success placed him directly in the path of powerful institutional interests connected to Cleveland Clinic, Case Western Reserve University, and the University Circle Incorporated. These institutions were expanding aggressively eastward during the same years Willis was consolidating property ownership. To understand Winston Willis, one must understand geography. His property sat in one of the most valuable redevelopment quarters in Cleveland, between downtown Cleveland, the University Circle, hospitals, universities, and future institutional growth zones. Urban development in the 1960s, we weren't there, but here's what happened. Urban development was code for what often came at the expense of Black neighborhoods throughout America and across the country. Highways destroyed Black communities. Universities expanded into Black districts. And urban renewal, quote unquote, frequently became what critics called Negro removal. Willis believed this was happening in Cleveland, and it was, and it is. He argued that powerful interests wanted his land and wanted Black commercial ownership removed from the district. If you are from Cleveland, Ohio, you ought, and you know Cleveland, you know the east side of Cleveland, you ought to take a drive by what used to be Morris Black. It's gone. They're redeveloping it. The beat goes on and on while we're sleeping, dreaming, screwing, dancing, singing, rapping, dreaming. The white man is scheming. He's lying. He's stealing and he's killing. That's what he does. That's white thinking. White thinking is not a color of skin, it is a color of the soul and a consciousness. Several major Cleveland officials and institutions became associated with conflict involving Willis. These officials included good old George Voinovich and good old George Forbes, who I can never say a negative thing about because I love him and I know him personally. But he is who he is. Officials within the city of Cleveland, housing inspectors, prosecutors, redevelopment agencies, and institutional leaders tied to University Circle. Willis claimed that the city government used legal pressure selectively against him. Supporters argued that Willis faced excessive inspections, which they do, repeated code enforcement actions, which they do, tax prosecution, targeted policing, and political isolation. I've been through all that in the city of Cleveland. It's the truth. When they come after you, they send every inspector that they possibly can, every policeman, and you wonder, when is it just everything that can go wrong does go wrong? No, it is a very organized system, and when politicians get smart, they stop showing their faces and they start using the system to persecute you. Oh, they know the playbook. And if they don't know it, they learn. Don't forget the newspapers too, and the news stations. They all are one. City officials, however, maintained that Willis simply violated laws repeatedly and accumulated serious financial and legal problems. Let me pause for a moment. Now that I'm on the west side, I realize that there's a propaganda machine, media, that operates 24/7. And I realize now that I'm on the west side and have been here for 11 years that the perspective of white people, white thinking people, people who aspire to take advantage of white privilege people who appreciate and understand white power, people who either subtly, passively, or aggressively embrace white supremacy. These people look at the news differently than minorities and those who are not a part of the white consciousness because they know that the news is an arm, it is an arm of white consciousness. And so, therefore, they know that the news is, more times than not, a pack of lies. They dismiss it. They don't even view what happened comes on the news in the same view that blacks and poor people and minority look at the news. Black folks see something on the news and they say, oh my God, that must be true. When white folks look at the very same story and they realize it's propaganda. They realize there's a propaganda machine that does one thing better than anything else in this world community. It lies. Fake news is nothing new. The propaganda machine is designed to lie and character assassinate and to steal whatever the powers that be are focused upon. I know that's a lot. I know that you may not believe that. You must be clear that consciousness is a choice, and so is ignorance. And the Bible says that ignorance is bliss. Maybe it is. I've never been ignorant, I've never had that luxury. Anyhow, there were three major episodes of aggressive prosecution of Winston E. Willis. One of the earliest areas of conflict involved repeated housing and fire code inspections. Trust and believe when you start operating with a level of confidence and independence and success legally, the housing inspector is on his way. The fire code inspectors are on their way. And the most dangerous person to ever knock on your door will be a white man in a suit. You would be happier with someone sneaking in with guns. Been there, did that. God is good. I know what I'm talking about. Anyway, when they finish with your reputation, black folks will hate you. They will not trust you because you are on the news. Doesn't matter if the story is totally fabricated. Doesn't matter if it didn't have any facts or evidence. If they spend millions of dollars chasing you around the city, it doesn't matter at that point because they have to get ratings. Black folks will eat it up, whereas white folks will simply dismiss it as niggas being niggas. And as long as niggas are being niggas, they don't have anything to worry about. Wow. Anyway, Willis alleged that inspectors appeared constantly at his businesses, and they did. Enforcement was unusual and aggressive. It was. And inspectors disrupted tenants and customers. They do. That's what they do. They lie. They steal. They kill. They lie on you, your reputation. They steal your land, your property, your business, your economic flow. And if they can't kill you physically, they will kill your character. Supporters interpreted these actions as economic harassment intended to destabilize his business empire, and they did. The city of Cleveland argued that these inspections were legitimate. They always do, they lie. Enforcement measures tied to safety and code violations. The conflict eventually led to legal proceedings involving Cleveland housing ordinances. My goodness. Tax prosecutions and financial pressure. In 1975, Willis was convicted on city income tax charges. But of course, this became one of the defining points in his conflict with Cleveland authorities. Willis argued the prosecutions were selective. They were. He argued that other businesses were treated differently. I've been there. They are. He also argued and that the true issue was redevelopment pressure connected to the valuable land that he controlled. Everywhere in America where black people control valuable land, it has been taken. It has been taken. It has been taken. I once had a friend whose family had land in Hilton Head, the island in South Carolina, North Carolina, South Carolina. I don't know. She swore that, oh my God, no one took our land. We sold it. That's what you do. Who in the hell sells beachfront property? And how can an entire black community decide at the same time we're all selling our land? Somebody had to have wanted to stick around. Somebody should have been stubborn. But according to her, oh my goodness, we sold that land. That's what people do. Bullshit. The land was taken one way or another. They redeveloped it, and now you would never know that Hilton Head was totally owned 100% by black people at one point in its history. Um, but white thinking has a way of infecting people who think they're as smart as white folk are, or they are accepted by white folk, or they start laying down and having babies with white folk. Then all of a sudden they wonder why they get treated differently. I don't have that problem personally, but I know the problem. I've seen it. Anyway, during this period, Willis also filed lawsuits accusing redevelopment organizations, banks, and institutional interests of conspiring to force black owned businesses out of the University Circle area. Critics dismiss these allegations as conspiracy claims unsupported by the courts. In other words, we control the courts. If you file a petition in the court and you lose, they say, well, my God, if there was any merit to your claims, then you should have got some victories in our unjust courts based on our unjust laws. Wow. But supporters saw a pattern. There was legal pressure, there was financial pressure, there was regulatory pressure, and institutional expansion occurred simultaneously. Hmm. In 1982, this is probably one of the most amazing stories you will ever hear and will not believe because you still haven't figured out that we were property in this country and we are still treated like property. Racism has not budged 1 inch. But the most controversial chapter occurred in 1982 while Willis was arrested on a bad check charge. Millionaire. I believe it was a $600 check. They arrested him because they can do that. It's called ICE. According to the story, they drove him around. Finally, they put him in a jail in Chillicothe, Ohio. While he was in prison, they got busy. They got demolition crews and they destroyed large sections of his Euclid Avenue business district. Did you hear me? They arrested the man on false charges, stuck him in a jail with no charges, notified no one of where he was, and they took bulldozers and demolished his properties. Supporters of Willis, there's two supporters of Willis, this became symbolic of political economic destruction. A black businessman was removed. His properties were cleared. And institutional expansion continued afterwards, and it still continues today. Many argue that the timing was suspicious. Supporters claim the Cleveland police secured the area, The demolition moved in fast, unusually fast, and Willis was unable to defend his holdings because he was incarcerated. City officials responded that the buildings were deteriorated, legal authority for demolition existed, and years of financial code problems justified the action. When a black man stands up to white people and he does it with confidence and independence, that is what white thinking defines as a threat to national and local security. And that is why they move so swiftly to, first of all,